What is going on, guys? It's Morgan, and today we are back talking about rugby. I'm so glad that it is back. Rugby is finally coming back. I am going to chuck a game on in the background. I'm going to do an Ireland versus England. This is a sort of custom team I've had in Rugby 20 that I've been trying to make better. It's just going to be for a bit of background stuff. It's not going to be super important. It's going to be a lot more conversational, but it's just so it's not a little bit boring in the background for you guys to watch. But I am so glad the rugby is back. I've been following a bit of the New Zealand rugby at club level. We've done a couple of videos on those sort of reviews of the games and how they've gone and just how ridiculously strong the New Zealand team is going to be going into, you know, autumn internationals in the future and the World Cup. I'm already expecting them to win the next World Cup. Those teams look insane. But that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about the Six Nations, which is actually being finished. I did a sort of video a couple months back talking about the Eight Nations potential, which has now obviously been turned into the autumn internationals tournament thing they've sort of created, and now Japan have dropped out. That's a whole separate deal. That's probably going to be another video at some point. But the Six Nations is back. They're going to finish the 4 games that haven't happened, and I wanted this video just to talk about who do we think is actually going to win this Six Nations. I think if you'd got into the sort of second, third game of the Six Nations, I think I would have called France. We're going to take this one. I'll chuck on screen real quick right now. This is what the table looks like currently before any of these games have happened. England are sitting there in top with France on the same points. Obviously the only thing changing is the points difference they've had in their game. Scotland having a great year. They're in third. We'll see if they can manage to hold on to there. They may well actually stick to that sort of third position there. Ireland down in fourth, but obviously still have the 2 games left to play. Wales in fifth. We'll try and avoid talking about that as much as possible. They've had a poor year. Just, you know, management changes and injuries and stuff. They were never going to win this year. It would have been nice, but they were never going to get there. And then Italy sat where Italy are every year, just at the bottom. 0 wins from all of them played. They still have 2 games in hand. They could win both. They could have a great comeback. They're not going to, but there we are. So, things to talk about in this, guys. So, going into this, I actually thought from now the games were going to restart. I was a little surprised. I thought this was basically going to be England's year. Obviously, France are right there behind them. But the England game coming up is against Italy, who haven't been very well, let's call it for 8 years. I don't know. When was the last time they won an international game? Probably against a 3rd-tier nation. But that's unfortunately about as good as they can do. But an article popped up the other day for me that was talking about the Ireland hopes of making it through to this final win here in this ridiculous Six Nations, which I was a little confused about. I actually thought they were out of it until I had a better look at this points table. So the England game in hand right now is going to be Italy. I'm fully expecting England to walk away with 5 points from that match. That should be, you know, a relative easy win, and they should be getting 4 tries against Italy. You know, it should just be happening. The England team's looking strong. England club level is looking strong. Everyone's looking like they're going to be able to produce a good England side. Italy, I actually think have got stronger this year, bizarrely. They haven't done any better, but I think they've been doing very well. I think one of the big things for Italy was actually dropping Sergio Parisse, an icon of the sport, a legend, but I've said for the past 2 or 3 years now, to me, is almost, it's my opinion, but I think he's almost dampening down the ability to bring in new blood. They've brought in a couple of people, especially in that sort of 6, 7, 8 position, the flanker to number 8. I know Parisse likes to play as number 8. But I think he's definitely been falling off form the past few years, and I think it's been nice this year to allow a bit of new blood into that position. And there's definitely been a couple of good contenders. I think was it Bram Stain that's come in now, who's just an absolute machine. He's working his way through. And I think it's been nice to see an Italy squad without Parisse let some other people step up to the plate and trying to make the best of a bad situation. But England's final game will be against Italy, which will be coming up. I'm expecting England to win that. It might be nice for them to chuck Parisse back in for that game. Just say, well, we've lost this Six Nations, but maybe we can give them a nice final send-off. So England are looking to win that game by all accounts, and will finish on that case on 18 points, which is a very strong position to be in. I mean, obviously the only people then you'd look at immediately that would catch them would be France. France only have one game left as well. That is against Ireland. That is going to be a big game, I think, in terms of who's going to be able to take that one. Because that basically, to me, is going to be the decider, potentially, of the Six Nations as a whole. So the Ireland-France game is actually happening in France. Not that home advantage matters too much now, with there's no spectators watching. It's going to be an empty stadium, presumably. I haven't actually seen anything about that, but I imagine it's going to be an empty stadium. Home advantage won't mean quite as much. But then going back to this table look now, you get to look at it now that Ireland have potential here to do something quite miraculous, really. And I want to get onto that in a second. Scotland won't. I can't see them winning. I can't see Ireland losing to both Italy and then drawing against France, and then England losing to Italy, and then Scotland beating Wales by with 4 tries scored and scoring about 15 points in the process, more than them. I just don't see it happening. They could well beat Wales. Scotland have actually looked very strong this year. Potentially should have really done a little bit better. Wales have been off form, so I'd be expecting Scotland to give a good fight for that win, but whether the other teams would lose in order for Scotland to win that Six Nations, I just don't see happening. So the final contender to really discuss here for me will be Ireland. So Ireland have played 3, they won 2. They did have a loss. I forgot if they lost 2 now. Did they actually lose to England? I think they did. Yes, on the 23rd of February, Ireland actually lost to England, 24-12. So they haven't been looking as strong as they have been in the past. Obviously, they've had their own Grand Slams and their own big Six Nations win. You'd be expecting to look strong for this one. But Ireland have 2 games in hand now, and what can they do with 2 games? So they are currently 4 points down behind England. England, we've already discussed, I think will finish on 18 pretty much no matter what. However, Ireland versus Italy is the first Ireland game up, and as the same with the England game, I'm expecting Ireland to come away with 5 points from that game. They should be looking right now for an absolute killing machine from Ireland. Obviously they had their final, Leinster versus Ulster, and Leinster won that. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen all the Pro 14s. So the Irish teams are looking strong. Players are looking, ready to get back into that international scene. So I'm expecting Ireland to come back, hit hard. I don't think they were happy with their Six Nations performance, and I think they were quite glad that it got stopped, because I could see them maybe ending 4th, maybe ending 5th, maybe if they'd had a couple more bad games. But I think they've got a potential opportunity to make a big comeback here, and we'll explain why. So going in against Italy here, I think they're going to come away with 5. So if Ireland come away with 5 points from that game, that puts them at 14. That would put them at the top of the table currently, with everyone left to play a game. Now, the important thing here is that the Ireland final game will be against France. I'm already expecting England to end on 18. So that leaves France on 13, Ireland on 14 points overall. So that puts Ireland and France in the 2nd and 3rd position, England top. And that to me is the game that this is going to come down to. Because France, if you all remember, towards the end of the Six Nations, back in the start of the year, before all the world began ending, France started out so strong and just slowly got worse and worse and worse. And now there's even talk about that the French clubs are refusing to release players for international duty. So France could well come into this Six Nations here with no international players, quality international players, high cap players. This could just be a youth team thrown in there. And I feel really bad for France. I feel like they're about to lose the Six Nations. To me, they should have won. From that second game in, I was convinced France were going to win, and they've just slowly sort of let it slip away from them. So in my own personal opinion, I think France have lost this for themselves. I wouldn't feel confident in a France team as it was in sort of March area to beat an Ireland team, how the players are currently looking at club level. So then it comes down to, what will the score be between Ireland and France? So let's call that an Irish win. So Ireland are already on their 14 there. They're going to move up then to an 18 points, same as England. So then that will come down only to points difference. Now, England are the big try scorers, especially in that first 15 minute. They love to get 2 or 3 tries in super early and then they just kill you at the end. England haven't stopped and have done very well under Eddie Jones's coaching. They did very well in the World Cup. Again, I think they let the World Cup slip away from them. I think England probably should have taken that World Cup. But it will come down to points difference, so I'm expecting England to score big against Italy. I had a look on some of the betting sites today, and I think England are already sort of 1-14. They're already heavily favoured to win this. However, I actually, looking at this table, Ireland's point difference is only +5. They're only 10 points in points difference behind England currently, and they have still got to play Italy, the exact same team as England. And they also then get to go on to play France. So, to me, they've actually got 2 games there to try and make up the 10 points plus whatever England put on Italy. And I think that's very doable. I don't know about any of you guys. I think for Ireland to beat France by 10 isn't unheard of. And then it would just come down to who could beat Italy by more. Well, I mean, that opens up a whole sort of range of scenarios there where England could actually come second to Ireland here just on points difference. If that was the way it went, let's say Ireland beat France 20 points to 10, and then it would come down to who scored the most against Italy. That to me is a 1-2 decision there between who wins the Six Nations, who comes second between Ireland and England. Big calls all round. I don't know who you think would do better. Put in the comments who you think would be able to score more given the teams they're most likely to put out against. I'm really interested to know what you guys think about this. But the second scenario is that if Ireland go over to France, beat France in France, and not only do that, they also manage to score 4 tries against France, that means Ireland will finish on 19 points and out of nowhere undercut England here for this victory. And there's nothing England can do about that. That would see Ireland finishing on 19, England on 18 points. There's nothing that could happen there, and that could be an Ireland win. So this to me now is Ireland's Six Nations to lose, in my opinion. I actually think Ireland have got this down. I put a $5 bet on today for Ireland to win. They're 3-1. If you guys, agree with some of the analytics, you want to chuck a cheeky bet on, go for it. Go wild, because this could be an interesting one. So I think it's going to come down to that Ireland-France game to determine who wins this Six Nations and who comes goodness knows where else. It could come anywhere. Maybe Wales will score 80 points against Scotland and they'll be given a huge bonus point boost. They won't do that, but there we go. You can only live and hope. So it's going to be a really interesting thing. I hope you guys have liked this video. Just a bit of a chat about some of the different angles and who you think could win, what the points difference could be, who could go where. I have no idea. My personal instinct from looking at some of these analytics and where the teams are going, the points different, the points scored, the bonus point system they've introduced, I've got a big feeling this could actually be Ireland's year. Whether they deserve it, I don't know. To me, I really wish France had won this year. I think they deserved it, given that second game, but the way that they sort of petered off towards the end, I don't think they deserve to win it now. England have looked consistent throughout, bar that first game they had. That was just a shocking first game, first international game back for them from the World Cup, and they lost to South Africa there. There was a lot of potential mental games going on there. They sort of lost that game themselves. I to me think it's going to be between England and Ireland to win this one. I think France have written themselves out, and I believe this is now Ireland's Six Nations to lose. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who do you think is going to win this one? Is it going to be in Ireland? Is it going to be in England? Could France come out of nowhere? Could France beat Ireland by 4 tries, and then they could end on 18 points as well? Could they beat Ireland by more than England can beat Italy? Are Italy going to show up and have a superb tournament? Could France take it out of nowhere? I don't even know if Scotland can still win. I haven't even worked out the logistics of that. I think you need Ireland to draw against France and Italy to beat both Ireland and England. What a turnaround that would be. Italy would finish 4th, I think. I think that'll be their best result in about 15 years of watching rugby. But let me know what you guys think, guys. Drop it down in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video and you enjoyed this sort of style of video, looking a bit more at, a speculation, a bit more about the games with a bit of gameplay in the background. Obviously for this one we just did England versus Ireland because that's who I think the championship's going to be between. Make sure you drop the video a like. It does help the channel out, and it does let me know that you guys enjoy this sort of content. And make sure you comment down below, just because I'd like to get a bit of a discussion going, see what's going. I don't care who you actually support, but just more, who do you actually believe is going to take this one? I'm thinking Ireland. If you agree with me, let you know. If you're thinking England, show some support for England. If you're thinking France, you show some France. If you've got a couple of Scottish people in the background that think there's just that 1% chance and that's all we need, chuck it in the comments, let me know. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, guys. I'm looking forward to the Six Nations. I'm going to follow it a little bit closely. I might do some videos and some reviews on some of the games, so make sure you are subscribed just to keep up to date with all our videos as they come out. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.